Welcome to Vim, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages, sizes, occupations. Yeah, generally we're all programmers, but I'm telling you, you got an orthodontist that wants to use Vim, bring them. Bring them to me. Bring them on. All right? We can do it. My name is Derek Wyatt. I've been using Vim for about 10 or 12 years. That does not make me an expert. You'd think maybe after 10 or 12 years I could claim it. The only thing I can claim to be an expert on is sitting my can in this here chair. Nobody does this better than me. And that's about it. Yeah. There are guys out there that have been using Vim for much longer than I have, and they can probably call themselves experts way before me. But I claim that I am better than you, because you are a beginner. If you're not a beginner, shuffle along. We're going to be covering basics. This video is merely to cover some of the features, just to show you what it can do as a 20 to 25 minute introduction to the editor en masse. Sort of like, not the details, not the real power stuff. This is just to show it off. Hopefully, maybe after this, you can tell yourself, maybe it's worth checking out, or, wow, that's just the stupidest looking thing I've ever seen. You won't say that. It's the best. So, let's get going. Vim comes from VI, also called Vi, because it's just that efficient. It's even efficient to discuss. So what editor do you use? Well, I use Notepad++. And someone says, oh, well, what editor do you use? Vi. See how much faster that is? My God, it's so fast! That's Vim, baby. That's it. Vi is one of three types of editors that, three types of editors that I classify. And yeah, I'm just classifying these just because that's what I'm doing. There is the first class of editor, which I am going to say is the Emacs class. Fantastic class of editor. Emacs is a fantastic editor. Fabulous, amazing, really great. Not only can it edit really well, it's a friggin' operating system. Honestly, I'm not saying that in the jokey way that a lot of people do. It's a really good editor. In the family of editors, it's kind of in a class by itself. I don't really know of any Emacs derivations, which could simply say that it is the best it can be, and there's no need to derive from it. So we're just going to let that go. If you want to get into the Emacs versus Vim holy war, you're going to have to find someone else. I love it. It's a great editor. The next class, this is number 2, would be the Notepad class. Yep. I know there were tons of editors before Notepad, and there have been tons of editors after Notepad, but I love using Notepad as like the poster child for every crappy editor I can think of, and so that's what I'm going to do. So these are things like, yes, Eclipse, NetBeans, Notepad++, well, no big surprise there, Visual Studio and all its variants, Pico, if we want to go way back to the Unix days. I'm putting Pico in the Notepad space, sorry. These are all just, they're modeless, which we'll get to in a second. They're modeless like Emacs, but they don't have all the great power of Emacs. So they take the worst of the moded world, by not having any, and then they take the worst of the extra features world by hardly having any of those either. Now, there are some that have done a very good job, like TextMate for OS X comes to mind. Very nice editor. Still, it's going to hit that wall, that Notepad wall, where it's like, I'm stuck. I'm stuck in this mode where I'm just always in insert mode. I'm stuck. And you're just going to keep hitting that. Which brings me to number 3, the super guy, the numero uno, the killer. Oh yeah, oh yeah. VI, from which Vim was born. It is the mode-based editor, and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about Vim, the super deal, the god of all editors, and it is, well, in a word, different. Different. You cannot use it like you use Notepad. You cannot use it like you use Emacs. You have to approach this thing like it is its own deal. Here's an example. Okay, I'm going to show you something that is completely asinine. Okay, this is called an electronic wind instrument. Okay, everyone says, oh, it's an electronic clarinet or it's an electronic saxophone. Oh, it's just one of those. It's just that hooked up. No, this is its own instrument. I play saxophone and I play this, and I gotta tell you, this is not a saxophone. I don't play it like a saxophone. You shouldn't play it like a saxophone. It is its own deal. Because if I were to play it like a saxophone, I'd get like 20% out of that instrument. I want 110% out of that sucker. So I play it like it's its own instrument. Vim is the same deal. Same deal. You got to approach it as if it's its own world. And that's exactly what it is. Okay? So that means stay away from the arrow keys. This thing right here, this rat-tailed beast, don't touch it. It's evil. It is evil. And there are Vim users out there that touch it. You do. I know you do. I know you do. And I know that there are beginners out there that know a Vim guy. And he touches this thing and he uses it. And he might once in a while he'll go. I got a messy desk. He'll go and he'll touch these things. He'll touch those. Yeah. Do you know how far it is? You got your hands over here and you go, look how far that is. There are the healthcare system on our planet in every country is being burdened by injuries that are coming from people going from the home keys over to the mouse. They go over to the mouse, and go over to the mouse, and they go over to the arrow keys. And you can pull tendons. You can do all. It's terrible. Don't leave the home keys. Don't do it. Don't delete character by character. Don't move character by character. Don't move line by line. Move by blocks. You know, all fantastic. Delete by blocks. Run macros. Write little scripts that do cool things. Use all the fantastic power that is in Vim. Okay? Okay. I heard everyone say yes, so that's good. All right, so let us move on. We're going to show you Vim. We're going to show it to you. It is sexy. We're going to talk about editors in terms of, you know, what they kind of need to be called editors nowadays, like programmers, editors. Okay? So let's do that. One of the things that an editor has to do is it has to look sexy. It has got to look good. It's got to just turn you right on. Okay? So let's have a look, and I will show you what turns me on in an editor. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. 3, 2, 1. What do you think of that? Check. Oh, hold on. Sorry. That's extremely dull. I neglected to mention that. In order to have an extremely powerful editor, you kind of need to turn off all of that extra power stuff. And that's exactly what I do. That's what I will continue to do. So let's just, yeah. All right. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you some of the neat stuff that has to be there. And we all know that colors have to be there, okay? We're sexing it up a little bit, starting to look good. Vim has the ability to switch color schemes as much as you want. There are literally hundreds of color schemes out there, most of which are terrible. But there are a number of very good ones as well. I like a couple. This one that it has sort of landed on here is called Zoria 256. I also like Navajo Night, which I have ripped the bold out of. It has a lot of bold in it by default, but I just sort of took it out of the color scheme. You can edit your own color schemes very easily in Vim, so it's easy to take that bold out. But the one that I was talking about is Zoria 256. Let's switch to that. There we go. Okay, so there are your colors. Now, another thing that people like to have are these terrible things called menus. I happen to be on a Mac right now, which means that my menu is always burned to the top of the screen. So let's just show it to you. Okay, you can go and you can use like Vim in a lot of different operating systems, and the menu tends to be attached to the window, the actual Vim window in those operating systems. So you will normally see this attached there, and every other operating system I use it on where there is a situation like that, I just take the menu out of the GUI. You can do that. You just can't do it on OS X. because I like the screen real estate. Okay? And also, what does a menu kind of mean to you? Huh? What does a menu say? A menu says, grab the mouse. Grab it. You got to use the mouse. Grab this thing and use it. No, you don't use it. What do you need a menu for? Eh? Eh? Right. Okay. So, we come back and we say, okay, well, yeah, but Derek, you know what? If my editor doesn't have like this really cool toolbar, I am not using it. All right, there is your toolbar. Okay, you want the toolbar? It's there. You know what though? Toolbars say use this. Don't use it. Don't. You can. You can. You can. Don't. Okay. All right. Enough said. Let's turn that one off, shall we? Geo minus equals T. Done. All right. Next thing is people will say, well, with Windows, you know, with when I have my other editors, I have all these little windows on the, or these little tabs or toolbars or grab bars or window decorations on the top that I can grab with my mouse so I can see titles of things and whatever. So that would be the next one. These are what Vim calls tabs. You can have these, okay? Now there are GUI versions of these, there are non-GUI versions of these, but it basically means you can use the mouse, you can click on them, and you can like bring certain ones to the foreground, you know. You can have multiple files per tab, you can have one file per tab. People do use these to great effect. I've never been able to get a handle on them myself, so again, I tend to not use them, okay? But I understand people can make good use out of them, so I don't have such a, you know, a hatred for those things. All right, so the next thing that an editor has got to do, and I can't stress this enough, is your editor has to understand different file types. It has to understand that with an XML file that behaves one way, and with a C++ file that can behave a different way. Vim has this in the extreme. You can customize every type of file that you can think of. You can add new types, make it understand new things. There are plugins and additions for all kinds of this stuff on www.vim.org. But out of the box, it understands pretty much everything you think you should probably need, for the most people. So, let's have a look at some of the file types. All right? I'm going to run a little script here. File show, we will run that. You see that it's loading up, it's just loading up different files. There's an HTML one, there's Java. You can see that the syntax highlighting is there, okay? It goes beyond syntax highlighting, of course, but it can handle all kinds of different files. This is a Vim file, for instance. This is an XML file, and this is another XML file. Just to show you a very small taste of what it can understand is that we can see from this file that the formatting, the indenting, is awful on this file. We all know what an XML file is supposed to look like. Vim does too. So I hit equals Shift G and it formats to the end of the file for me. Done. Piece of cake. Okay? Let's move on again. The next thing that you're going to need to understand with, or you're going to want your editor to want to do, is something like, it's going to be what we call folds. Vim has folds. I'm going to change the color scheme here because I don't like Zoria 256 for this. I like Navajo Night when there's folds around. The reason I do that, I just don't have a preference yet for which color scheme I want to use. I don't know why. And I can switch very easily, so what do I care? So these are folds. You can see here I've got 66 lines in a fold. I got 46 lines in a fold. I can open these folds. They're arbitrary. Vim has a very strong way of handling folds. Let's talk about that for just a second. There's a lot of editors out there that sort of automatically fold for you based on indent. Vim can do that. And a lot of them, that's it. That's all they can do. Some of them go a little bit further. Vim takes it to the extreme. To the extreme. I can use markers, which is what I generally do, to say this is a section and this is a section. And in between here, it could be a function, could be 10 functions, could be 50 classes, whatever I want it to be. I can easily make that with just a quick marker that I'll show you in just a second. You can even define a function that says how you're going to fold. It is flexible, flexible, flexible. Okay? It's better than anything I've ever seen anywhere. And let's see some of the other things you can do with folds. here's something that's kind of nice. Well, first of all, let's take a quick look. This is a marker right here at the end, okay? You see this? That is the marker. That tells Vim how to fold. So we can close this, but one of the neat things that I can do right now is I can take, say, this completion item function fold, and I can move it. I can move it around, right? I can undo that, I can move it to the top. I can move them around like this. This is fantastic. This is a killer feature. It allows you to reorganize your code in just wonderful ways, okay? That is folds. The next thing we're going to show you is something that is really quite crucial for how we work in our coding world, and that's diffs. We need to be able to diff things. So here's some diffing in Vim. I've taken just a couple of files here and I've just changed it so I can have a diff. This is, you can see that I'm just jumping here because what's happened is this piece doesn't exist in this version of the file. I come over to this side, and if I say, oh, well, that should be in the left-hand side, I can just say diff put. That happens. Now, do you notice it disappeared? Do you notice it disappeared? This is one of the really nice things about Vim, is that it uses the folds that we just saw to just fold that stuff away. It's the same. You're going for a diff. What do you care about the stuff that's the same? I don't care what's the same. I want to see what's different. So just fold that garbage out of my way. It's brilliant. Let's have another quick look. You can see that it has been able to tell me exactly what has changed inside a line. I've got FT here, right? And over on this version of the file, I changed it to my file type, just for fun, okay? And that has been changed everywhere. And it's showing to me all of the changes that are relevant in that bit. And this is just, I mean, this is just the rest of the file. Vim's diff is phenomenal. It's really, really good. I use it all the time. I mean, half of coding in a major project is merging things around a lot of the time. So when you got a lot of people coding and a lot of stuff integrating and all this other stuff, it works really, really well. Another thing that an editor has to have, and this is where a lot of editors fall away. They fall over right here. Help. Help. Oh my God. Help is so important. So let's take a look at Vim's help, because it is comprehensive. Alright, so here we go. We've got Vim up. I type help. This is just what I want to type. Vim has a huge table of contents. I can just move inside here. It's all hyperlinked. I can do a help on a topic. Let's say I want to do a help. I know it starts with win. Oh yeah, win do. That was what I was interested in. You just type win, you type tab, it'll start completing things for you that match that context. I hit enter and there I go. I can also do a help grep. This is a search. I can do it on something, let's say buff. Okay, this is going to occur just like a ton of times. It occurs 3,706 times in the documentation. Okay, so we probably didn't want to search on something that generic, but we can now get a nice little, listing here. Let's say I want, I want this thing. This is the one I was looking at. Yeah. That's what I want. I hit enter. It takes me right there. Okay, this is documentation in the extreme. In the extreme. You can never say, hey man, I wasn't able to find it. It's in there, man. Generally speaking, it's in there. The only problem is it's a lot of documentation to read, but the grepping and the context sensitive jumping around really helps. It really helps. It's just documentation done right. It's amazing. The next thing an editor's going to need is extensibility. Absolutely, you gotta have extensibility. Vim has extensibility in spades. There are so many plugins available for Vim. I've written a couple myself. They're not fantastic, but they're decent. They get me by. And lots of people write these things. There are so many plugins for Vim. The community is fantastic. And a lot of people would think, well, but you can only do, what the scripting language allows you to do. Yeah, but it allows you to do pretty much everything. There's a plugin out there called Yankring. Yanking in Vi and in Vim is synonymous with copying, right? What you normally do with Control-C, right, to copy, you do by yanking in Vim. And someone, oh, geez, I can't remember who did it. I apologize, but has written a plugin called Yankring, which actually overrides all of the yanking functionality. You use it the same way. It's still the same. You use it the same way you would always yank in Vim, but it's now super yank. It's amazing, amazing stuff. But it's just overriding standard functionality. That's the kind of thing you can do with the extensibility in Vim. Let's take a look at just a couple of plugins, okay? Just a couple, nothing really major, all right? We're going to start with something that everyone loves, which is a file browser. You gotta have them. You gotta have them, right? And this is called NerdTree, which has the perfect name. I mean, I think maybe the name is probably one of the reasons I love it. It's a great name, and that's you can just toggle that on and off. It's just a plugin. That's all it is, right? You can do all kinds of neat stuff with that. I'm going to show you something a little more powerful now. Actually, we're going to edit some C++. I'm going to edit just a new C++ file. I don't know. We're going to call it the header file, right? Or actually that won't look very nice. So the class file. We'll just call that. They're just the class. We'll do. All right. So we're going to edit that, and you can see that I've got this brand new file. There's nothing in it, and I'm going to do something really kind of fun here. I'm going to type that, hit a magic key. Now there you go. This is the beginnings of this is a plugin called XP Template, which is one of the snippet type of plugins for Vim, which was at least made popular by TextMate, if not invented. I think it was just made popular by them. And I can now, using that and a bunch of functions I wrote and some playing around, I'm able to generate this class. I would just type, description goes here, okay? And now my class is done. But you notice a few things here. The file name has this little bit in it, right? It's got, me in there. Oh, fantastic, right? It's got include guards. It's got the namespace definition that it picked up from the place in the file system it is, right? Now this is all custom stuff. I've done this, okay? But the extensibility of Vim allows for it. The class name is here. It's got a constructor and a destructor. You got the end of the namespace is there and the end of the include guard. It's amazing, amazing stuff. So I will now just type in another. This is using the same plugin. I will do a void my big function. It'll take no arguments. It'll be const and it'll have a description here. Then we'll take another one. We'll do well, let's say. It'll be an integer function. It will say some other function. It'll be an int arg1. We won't make it const, and we'll have description 2, whatever. Okay? Now, I'm going to write this file. I'm going to switch to its companion file, which is using another plugin, right, that is smart enough to understand what the other file should be. You can see that it actually created it. And I'm going to now fill out the source using the same type of technique. But using a combination of plugins, it has now created these things for me. It even created these other bits of code that I put into the header file. It has read the header file and decided what needs to be filled out in the implementation file. This is also I don't have to write code. Who wants to write this stuff? As coders, we think. We're not typists. I mean, Vim helps us not be just typists, just data entry clerks. That's what the Notepad style editors do. You're data entry clerks. That's it. Vim is not about that. I hardly write code anymore. I just generate it. It's fantastic. Okay, let's take one last look at one thing. This is it. We're going to end off with this. We're going to look at actual sort of Vi kind of things. Okay, let's take a for instance. I'm going to say let's say you wanted to, I don't know, make a video of some maybe some Vim stuff. And you wanted to show people how file types work. So you want to write a little Vim sort of command script that lets you do that. Just a for instance. Okay. It's not like this is a real case or anything like that. Not like I actually did this. No, I'm just making this stuff up. Okay. So I am going to write this little script, and I'm going to do it because here's what I want to do. I want first a list of files that I want to show you. So I'm going to do a listing of the file types here, and it reads them in. You notice I didn't have to go and get a file from another window and cut and paste it or anything like that. I just read it in straight from a command. It's brilliant stuff. Now what I want to do is I want to show these files to you, and I want to sleep a little bit in between. Okay, so I want to actually change this. I want to change these lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a %s. I'm going to remember these files. I'm going to remember these things. You don't have to know what I'm doing here. We're just going to see that you can do it. And I'm going to replace these with that, and then a carriage return, and I'm going to sleep for a couple of seconds after each one. Okay, just so they don't whip by on the screen. We're just going to do that. And there you go. Okay, we've transformed this file. Now, on the, thunderous applause. Okay, so now I'm going to take, say, the XML file and the HTML file. Every file that looks like just, this is, okay, this I'm kind of making up here, okay? But let's say you wanted to take every file that was, had an ML, HTML, every XML file, you know, they were all named that way. There was a pattern match that you could work with. You want to take those and you want to split them. You don't want to edit them fresh. You want to split them into another window in Vim. Here's how we do that. We want to go and we want to say match all the lines that have ML in them, okay? And then you want to substitute the :E for a :SP, and we'll do that, okay? Now, and you can see that this line here, this line, and where is it? That line were changed, but no other lines were changed. No other lines were changed. That's kind of your standard do this all day long in Vim kind of stuff. And yeah, that's only like what, 9 files, something like that. You do this when you have like 16,000 files you want to work with, or a file or a buffer of 16,000 lines, and you just want to modify the few that you're interested in. That's where the power comes from. That's it. That's Vim. That's Vim. If you stuck with me this long, you want to use Vim. You do. Thanks for sticking with me. I hope it was helpful. If people ask you about Vim and they say, what's it like, man? You don't have to show them. Maybe if this is good enough, just ship them here, and with luck, we'll be all cool. So enjoy, ladies and gentlemen. Head to www.vim.org. Head to DerekWyatt.org. Check out what's there. Download Vim from the Vim site. And I got to say thank you to Blinks TV. They've given me this neat little app here for making these real cheap, and it now works real well. There were some problems, but it's nice now. So, thanks folks. Have a good one. Cheers.